Hello everyone, Shane here. Just want to talk to you a little bit about digital folio submission or digital folio brief by looking at this week's learning materials and going over some examples of past student folios. In this week's materials, weekly materials, there is a really great talk by Sally Brownbill. Sally Brownbill is an eclectic industry person who's been an agent, a photographer, photographer's assistant, studios in Australia and overseas. And she now is a consultant for designers and photographers and other creative professionals. And she acts as a kind of a hub connecting people for work. And also she consults people on helping you or them design and improve their folio and their resume in order to get work. So she's got these two lectures and they're really worth listening to. I sat through them all today, or both today, and it was really good, really interesting stuff. There's a lot of information she gives in there which I'd love you to be across. And I'm going to touch on that a little bit as I look through some of the student folios. Because the task this week is to create a mock-up of your online or digital design folio. Exactly what you do for this is up to you. You've got the opportunity of doing maybe a template website, mini site. You could do just an interactive PDF. You could do some sort of a blog if it's a blog that caters well for imagery. It's really up to you what you do, but we want you to do it with a view that this will be, part of your formal professional presentation into the world when you graduate. So it might be worth thinking ahead a little bit and deciding, do you want to invest in a little website, even if it's something that you build yourself. So once you create a little mock-up, you post the mock-up in this thread, and then you comment on 3 other students' mock-ups for their folio. It's very important to get used to that, to get good at giving constructive feedback. These are some past students of Swinburne, and I've opened them up along here, and we're going to have a look at those in a moment. The third link is about integrating the various channels of your design proposal. So as a team, you've been working away. Some of you have already started to do this. However, some of you, I'm a bit worried about. I haven't seen a lot of activity in the last week from a couple of groups. And in fact, there's a couple of groups, or at least one group, that I haven't seen a lot of activity at all in the last month. So I don't know for sure what's going on for you guys. If you're working away in your own space, that's no problem, but just to let you know, I'm a little bit concerned if I haven't seen your activity either on Blackboard or on real-time board. I can't help if I can't see what you're up to, so please reach out and let me know how you're going. Let me know if there's any questions. But the task this week is really to start to look at how to create an integrated media proposal. How can you have various channels, like for example the digital media component might be a visualization of a new website or a reconfiguration of an existing website. How does that integrate with, say, a print campaign? Or how does it integrate with some other sort of social media campaign? How does it integrate with events maybe that you're proposing that the Red Cross run? So it's all about integration. Now, as is mentioned in the learning material, some of you may or may not have already started to do this. Right, and that's totally fine. I know one group is well on the way to getting, this kind of integration happening across the design proposal, which is fantastic. Communication channels must include branding and digital applications. They may also include some kind of print literature, and so might include a combination of the following: publication design, signage, environmental design, marketing, and promotional paraphernalia, depending on your team's particular proposal. As I've mentioned a few times now, it is flexible what you have for, or what you propose for, your print literature component. It needs to be appropriate to the Australian Red Cross and to your team's goal and to the design strategy you've proposed and had feedback on. So don't force yourself to do a multi-page document if it's not appropriate to your proposal. But if you're not doing a multi-page document, make sure that there's a significant print literature component to your proposal. Maybe a poster, maybe a small brochure, billboards, bus stop. There could be a number of print components, a practical and reasonable aspect to your proposal. So we want to see those visualized. So cut over here, and I've got, this is actually a folio website of a a designer, I think, from Sydney, not an ex-grad of Swinburne, but I just liked the layout. Someone with good website building experience has put this together, and I'm not expecting the same level from you all, but I think it's always good to aim high. But just a really lovely layout, simple, brief text. It's one of the things that Sally Brownbill talks about, is the balance between, you know, saying too much and saying too little. And I think it's the same with your website or with your digital folio. You have to comment on it. You have to have some information about it. For example, you have to, I reckon, you have to tell us what you did. Don't just have a photograph there of a project and don't articulate what role you played. Did you do everything? Did you conceive the logo? Did you conceive the name? Did you take the photograph? Did you do all the layout and typesetting? Some of those might be obvious to you, but if you don't tell us, then we don't know. And an employer is used to having projects come past them that may or may not be done by a team. So if you don't clarify exactly what role you had, then it can be confusing. So that amount of information is going to be critical. So here's another lovely site. This is actually an ex-Swinburne grad. This is Stephanie La. Okay, beautiful tinted sort of greyish backdrop, lovely clear type, heaps of space, focus on the work, you know, a bit of a interaction when you hover over, which is pretty typical these days to get something like that in a website, and it's lovely. Projects, about, contact. So let's have a look at her work, but you know, there's a mixture of illustration, I think, and design. Some of this would be student work, I'm sure of it, or could be. I'm not sure of it, to be honest. But it's very likely that as a recent grad, what's appearing in your website or in your folio is Swinburne work. Very few people graduating will have professional work in their folios, so don't be frightened of that. Just put it in there. So that's Stephanie's. This is Josh Coates, another lovely website. You know, clear navigation. Perhaps even, you know, I think Stephanie's a bit more elegant in the way she has it laid out. This is slightly brasher and larger. Nothing wrong with that. You know, there's a good range of stuff there for that project. So, which is great. We'll go back to projects. Here we go, something at Swine. Branding, editorial design. Looks like they had a bit to do with the magazine, this person, Josh. Another young fella here, this is Jeremy Nyman, ex-Swinburne student. Jeremy set himself up as a photographer and designer. So here's his little general website. I quite like this black and white to colour hovering interaction. In terms of what website, you know, how you construct it, do you use a template website? If you're going to do a website, you don't have to, by the way. You can do a interactive PDF, so long as it's digital, so long as it's emailable, so long as it's viewable online. One of the important things is photography, samples of your work. It's great to have digital images, but far better to have printouts and little mock-ups like this. So wherever possible, give yourself, you know, or set up and take some sort of live shots of your work, whether you create that as a kind of as a composite, you know, where you get a photograph and sort of paste your digital images into that and add some shadows or something. That's also doable. But, you know, there's nothing wrong with just setting up a white sheet of paper on your kitchen table and a couple of lights, or using daylight and getting the camera out and maybe on a tripod, and just really taking some time to do some great shots, clear shots. So this is Janet Lee, another ex-student from Swinburne. Beautiful work. Lovely choice of thumbnails. Beautiful design, that one. Lovely work. Great. So Iana Lopez. Another simple website. Bit of an about page. These things don't have to be too complex. That's a nice photo. I'm pretty sure Ayana was a student of mine. Amy McPherson. Now, this is a very lovely illustrative leaning kind of website. This is more her design pages. Fantastic interaction, lovely bright colours, but yet very simple. This is Hannah Burrell, who doesn't seem to have her own website, but I've just shown this as I suppose it's one opportunity for you. I don't recommend it, for design. You guys should really have something a bit more savvy than just a particular profile on a kind of a job hunt website. This is a job hunting website, and this is where Jeremy Nyman, the other ex-Swinburne grads, got his photography and design work, I believe. This is design work. So Behance is a better interaction, a bit of layout, better, more suited to visuals than I think the Loop one is. Now this is Aaron Down, another ex-Swinburne grad. Aaron's work, Aaron was one of my students at Swinburne Uni. He's worked in the design factory. So yeah, another little, quite simple, actually this is the project he did when I was working with him. So that's Aaron's, and this is Azam's. I don't know Azam personally, but he's an ex-Swinburne grad. Lovely work, really beautiful kind of flat illustration, vector illustration work. That's part of the Capstone project, I believe. So here, photographs of his applications. Now that's probably just a composite image, I would say. As is that, I think he's got that image and created his own, projected his own work onto it. These things, you can buy these templates, but if you see them more than once, it's a bit of a giveaway. So it's good always, if you can, to take your own photographs. Okay, so the other thing I want to just quickly show you is the awards website, which I've linked to in the threads today. And this awards website is for digital design. There's a particular category here for great websites that are portfolios of either photographers or art directors or designers and illustrators. So if you just look through some of these, again, these are high-end quality of an international standard. So I don't expect anyone out there to have something of this degree, but I'm always for shooting high. So, it might just give you some inspiration in terms of layout. It might give you some inspiration in terms of what to include. One of the great things that Sally Brownbill mentioned is about showing your own personality. So it's really important to do that, not only in the website design, but also what you say about yourself, maybe the home screen. I mean, look at that, isn't that amazing? Amazing. I have no idea how that's been made, but it's just so captivating. So, I know that a couple of you have got a little bit of, look at that beautiful interaction of the logo type. A couple of you have got some coding experience and most of you don't. So I just reckon that, you're at an age now where you've got to expose yourself more and more. You've got to keep learning more and more skills. So maybe set yourself the task of getting a domain name, putting a website up there now, and promising yourself that you're going to, learn how to do a bit of coding, learn how to do this a bit better over the next 12 months. Putting your own personality forward, and that's really important. So you've got to distinguish yourself in some way. So try to do that in your website, or your digital folio. Do something personal in there. Bring yourself forward in some way. Don't just copy everyone else's approach to this. Do it in a unique way. I just want you to watch that little video of Sally Brownbill, because it does go on a fair bit, but it's worth it because she gives some really great advice. And she gives a lot of good advice about, what happens after you leave Swinburne, what happens after you try to get your first job, how do you approach the interview process, what are people looking for? And she talks all about communication. It's really important to become good at communicating to others and about yourself. I've done a lot of swapping around of my careers, so I've kind of got a lot of experience in different professions. And all of it has been as a freelancer. All of it has been as someone trying to make a living out of these different creative skills. And if I've got any advice for you all, it's that you have to be prepared to promote yourself. You have to be prepared to get out there and talk to people. Because we have all those thoughts. So you prepare yourself by researching them. And if you like their work, you tell them that. You say, look, I'm really keen to work here because I love your work, and I've been watching, this since for 2 years now. And the point that I was wanting to raise this for is just to sort of speak to a few of you who have not been communicating with me very much during this unit. There's a couple of you who I have no idea really of the sort of person you are, because I've had virtually no digital interaction, so to speak, and no audio interaction with you. And that is, for me, it's a bit of a warning. It's a warning, it's not going to affect your mark. It's not that kind of thing, but you're here as students of communication design, so you've got to get really good at communicating. And I'm the guy, so to speak, that's here in this moment. So you should be practicing how you communicate with me. And there's some of you, a good portion of you who have been fantastic communicators. And the truth is that as a potential, looking down the track, I'll remember the good communicators. Even if you're fantastic work, it's what the impression that we get left with as creative people is not just someone's work, it's the sort of person that they are. So if you're a good communicator, doesn't mean you have to be outgoing and happy and all that sort of stuff. It just means that you actually have to communicate. You talk and you interact, you exchange conversation. Regarding the assessment details for the Design Folio Assessment 5 include the Design Practice Survey and the Skills Survey. So they're assessed as part of your Design Folio. The samples I showed you the week before last of past Capstone students had their Design Practice Survey and Skills Surveys within the Capstone Journal. Now, that's kind of confused a number of students, and it actually confused me a little bit because I'd forgotten that it was written up as part of the Design Folio submission. So the point is that it is assessed and will be assessed as part of your Design Folio. You are required to submit it along with your Design Folio submission, your digital folio submission. You should consider including the Skills Survey and the Design Practice Survey on your little website, or as part of your digital folio. I think that's actually really a good idea. If you think about it, if you're looking for work at one of the studios that you've written about in your Design Practice Survey, and you've got a piece written about them and why you value their work and how you'd love to work there, wouldn't that be a fantastic thing to actually have on your website, on your digital folio, on your interactive PDF? I know some of you are probably a little bit behind. All I can say is there's no time like the present to catch up. There's an enormous amount to do if you are behind, but just be diligent, chip away. What else are you going to do with your time? Come on, drinking beer and watching movies is not that great. Creating things and accomplishing something and putting in your best efforts when it matters, that's what's going to, really give you satisfaction. And that's it. So I wish you all the best, and I'll speak to you soon. See ya.